my celestial beings. You are not alone. There is hope.
But he told me specifically not to do something, and I did it. He told me like not to unplug something because we were routing through headphones, and it was like coming out like extra sound somehow through the interface. And he's like, "Okay, I got it fixed. Just whatever you do, don't fuck with it anymore." And I did, and he was like, "I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah, he was a little pissy with me.
Yeah.
I remember that.
He was the same with me. It's okay.
I was like, "But I fixed it."
Yeah.
Well, we were running tracks, and I think anyone his age, that's
Just-
just not an ageist thing. A lot of older folks who do sound probably are like very good at running tracks. But we're at like a bar. There's like 30 people there. Like, you guys are running tracks. Like, okay.
He's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does make his life a little harder, but everyone does that these days. Get with the
Exactly.
times.
Exactly. Well, welcome, Alec, a returning guest. I think.
Thank you.
Are you our first? Well, Fraud,
I
technically.
don't think
but-
I was your first. I was not your first guest.
No, but I was wondering if you were our first returning guest who's not in the band. I think you are.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
I am
Welcome
fucking-
back.
Thank you guys.
Well,
Thank
Alec
you.
always has a bunch to say when I'm getting hammered and you're staying sober at Casita, and you're part of that problem. You're just like, John, here you go.
Well, that's my job.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to say that I do the job very well.
You do.
Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. Also, I mean, like you said, when you have you and Michael there, it's like you guys are the fucking best. So,
that's sweet.
Like, so you guys sit there, you're gonna have drinks, and I'm always gonna give you a free shot. So, and then
Yeah.
it turns into 3 or
Yeah. And then Mike's like, give me another one of those.
yeah.
And I'm like, Mike, it's Wednesday. We got to stop.
You're like, I'm only coming for 1 beer. I'm like, oh, John,
No,
you're
you're
so wrong.
Dude, in my mood going in thinking I'm going to have one beer, I'm like fucking set. Like, I'm like, one beer, some couple tacos, we're spending $20 or less,
Right.
whatever it is, And then a free shot comes my way. It happens to be delicious. I'm like, what is this? It's like, oh, it's a margarita, but we use gin or something.
Oh, it's an East Side that I made.
Whatever, dude.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I'm like, well, that made me feel great all of a sudden. And then I'm like, I look up, there's sports on. The world has color again. All of a sudden, my life's great. Alex here. We talk about fucking tunes.
I was gonna say that's how it starts too, because then we get into the art and we start talking about music, and then that we just go on a fucking tangent for.
Yep.
And I'm supposed to be doing work, so I'm still working behind the bar. But
Multitask.
yeah, I'm not. I'm talking to John. Like I'm not paying attention to any other guests. I'm literally talking to John for like 30-minute spurts.
Dude, I try to squeeze so many words into such little time.
Yeah, that's the problem.
As I
Yeah, that's
see
what we do.
You start to drift one direction. I'm like,
Wait,
one more thing.
I have one more thing to say.
And then Alec leaves, and I just go to Mike. I'm like, Alec's fucking awesome, man.
Let's get another.
Yeah, we should get another round, right? Yeah, dude, we're feeling it tonight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
No, it's a great spot. I'm happy we met, and I'm happy to be an observer in your music career, part of it in some kind of way.
I appreciate it,
It's,
man. Thank
it's
you.
very fun. So the big news, and have you made it public yet? Or do you plan on it? You don't have to.
No, I mean I can. Yeah, I'm working on an album right now that I'll be recording. Actually, this month or whenever this gets released. So I guess on Monday the 28th is when we go into the recording studio.
It's coming up.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. We're going to be in there for 4 days, and then after that, it's just going to be 6 months of just pure, just getting everything in order, marketing, all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, and we have our last few rehearsals tomorrow and Thursday, and then it's game time.
Wowee.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been rehearsing for?
We've been rehearsing for this project specifically with the new drummer that we have for 2 months.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
So
2
you guys
months.
must be pretty tight.
You know what? Honestly, it's really amazing to see.
Hell yeah.
Just from this perspective of that consistency of going to rehearsal space 3 hours a day, 3 days a week.
Oh, wow.
And just-
You've really been doing it.
Oh yeah.
Shit.
And just drilling it. And,
Yeah.
And it's cool too because when you have such amazing musicians like I do in the band with Malik Deering, who's the bassist, and then Malik Dugan, who is the drummer. I call
Unreal.
I call
That's
them. I
awesome.
got Malik to the power of 2. Yeah, and those guys, and they're serious fucking musicians, man, and they know what they're doing. So when they come in, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
just easy. Like they're very good at getting what I have in my head, telling them the idea, and then being able to execute it in a way where not only do they get what was in my head, but then they're able to build upon it and make it even better than I had expected it to be or what I had imagined it to be, which is really cool. And that's always been my big rule when it comes to rehearsing, and I always tell anybody going into it, it's like my number one rule is do not disrupt the creative process.
Yeah.
So if you have an idea, we're always open to the idea. We see the idea all the way through, and then I can make the decision if I like that or not, or we'll do something else. But you have to keep that flow going when you're creating, because that's when something can happen where you didn't expect it to occur, or someone had an idea and it's the better idea, and it turns into this thing where you're like, oh my God, this is the song. And it's happened multiple times when I've been with these two musicians, and it's great because, like I said, it's even better than I ever imagined it would be.
Wow.
So it's really cool.
I have a couple questions. So
Yeah,
when you're
absolutely.
looking for musicians, and obviously I think we're at a point where it's like you have to depend on relationships and friends. Like,
Right.
I mean, yeah, you could blow your whole budget on like getting studio musicians you don't know,
Right.
and maybe some people have to do that. But in your case, like, are you typically looking for vibe or strictly like studio performer like talent? Like,
So
does it matter?
Well, the interesting thing about not having any money
You get lucky.
is that you have to use your resources that you got. You know,
Sure.
there's only so much you can do. And again, luckily for me, I was very fortunate with Malik Deering because I met the guy 4 years ago at open mics at Kibitz Room.
Yeah.
And he does not need to be at an open mic because the guy is so good at what he does. But and again, he's a true artist through and through, man. Like, he shows up to all the open mics around the city, and that's all he does. And he just plays shows, plays open mics, does his thing. Literally doesn't, leave an instrument. I mean, he always has an instrument with him. So I met him 4 years ago, and he just happened to be, like, I stumbled upon a genius. Like, it's almost like the thing where, like, he's the undiscovered genius in the music industry that any person who, if they were top tier professionals, if they had if they had someone that they needed to record an album, I mean, Malik would cost $300 an hour.
Yeah.
He's that good.
For sure. And it's funny because I've seen him twice. I saw him at an open mic. I forget where. I think it was, I don't know if it was Powerhouse or it was the one down the street here. I think I saw him for the first time at an open mic. Akila. She came in and ruined the party. I swear to God, if she barks at you, it's over.
It's okay, bud. She won't do it. Maybe she will.
Yeah.
She's coming for you.
It's okay. At least you don't.
Keela, hey, come here. But so I saw him play once, or twice, sorry, at open mics. But I think the second time I saw him, it wasn't open mic. It was at the Redwood Bar. I think he played before Flo's band.
Yeah,
okay.
When you were out
that
of
would
town.
make sense. That would make sense.
But he looked so familiar to me then. Like, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then I saw him in your band, and I was like, oh my God, he's everywhere.
Dude, no, but seriously, he's in multiple like everybody, and he came on he's a session player for this album because he's in so many other projects, and I really do value him, so I want to get him paid, and
of course,
because
yeah.
he's a solid dude and a friend. He was very kind to me on my wallet, and he's just like, look, man, $25 a session.
Nice.
A rehearsal. I'm like, oh my
That's
God, I'm lucky.
really good.
Like holy shit,
Yeah.
and that's incredible. And then, and it was actually one of the things too. We've had a few conversations about this. One of them in particular when we sat at that cafe and we were kind of talking about the business end, the LLC, and all that stuff. When you're your own record label, which essentially we are. One of the things that you are is the A&R department. And what the A&R department used to be was they're the ones who had all the connections with all the musicians, all the session players. They knew who to get on for the album. They would do all that. Well, I had to do that. So I pretty much made a list of every single person that I know, bassist, musicians, anybody that I know. I'm like, okay, these are my contacts. Well, what can I do to work with this?
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough that 10 years ago when I came out here and I was bartending at a place called Wood and Vine, one of the he wasn't a regular, but there's a few restaurants that were right next to Wood and Vine. One was Katsuya and one was Clio. And Clio, the kitchen staff and from Katsuya would always come into our bar because we were always staying open till 2 a.m. So they'd all come in. It was like Cheers. They would all come in and drink at the bar. And one of the cooks there at the time was a guy named Alan, who's a fantastic drummer, a punk metal band. Like, he's a solid dude.
Dude, hold on. A chef or like a cook, not even a chef, like a cook
Who's
in
a cook?
kitchen
Line cook.
who's a metal/punk drummer.
Yeah.
That might be my favorite person on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
good
Oh no,
combo.
he fits it, man. He's no joke. But so I knew him from that time. Really cool guy, and we really got along. So I always had his number. After I left that place, 10 years, never spoke to him for years. Like, he's just always been a name that me and my buddy Eric always knew. They were like, oh, we would hear like once in a while, like, oh, there's Alan. Oh, how's Alan doing?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the pandemic when I started to really get into music where Alan was one of the guys who we invited to see me play like my first show. We rented out like an audition studio.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, just to like show for our friends, like, hey, this is what we've been working on for 6 months.
Sorry to like interrupt, but
No.
how much did that cost? Like to rent out an audition studio?
It was a self-tape studio. It was something like that.
Oh, okay. So
it was maybe like, I think it's like $80 for an hour.
like
or
square
something.
feet, is it like a size of this, or is it
It's
like
small. It's a little smaller. than
small?
this.
Okay, because
Yeah.
we've been thinking of ways to do like a recorded like live show where we can still have an audience and like a cool setting, whether we make it cool or it's automatically cool, but the pricing is like all over the place. So I was just wondering.
This I forgot the name of the theater too. But it's a place where literally people rent out to do self tapes and like do acting classes in.
Yeah. Okay.
And he came in and he watched me just be abysmal as just a new artist and everything.
on.
But he was cool about it. So he was always, I knew he was a musician, I knew he was a drummer, and it wasn't till as obviously when I had to I wanted to find a new drummer for the album, that he was one of the contacts. And I honestly didn't expect anything of it. He was the only guy that I knew who was another drummer. So I asked him, like, hey, Alan, do you want to come on and audition for this album I'm doing? Like, you would come on as a session player. Here are the details. And he said, sure. And he came in and he just fucking did what he does best, man. Like, he was, like you said, he's a metal drummer, but he's so good. And he just did so well in the audition. I'm like, all right, you got the job. Like, you're the drummer for the album.
Yeah. I want to pause real quick
Yeah.
and just say, like, for Neal, to make sure you heard that, and listeners, like, you held auditions.
I did.
Which I think is so cool because
did.
I think most people, including myself, like, we got extremely lucky.
We
Like,
did.
Yeah. But like, basically for me, I would have been so desperate where I would have just been like, yeah, you play, you're willing to be involved. Like, let's
Right.
do this. But you were like confident enough in yourself to be like, I'm going to hold auditions. I mean, not like in a great way is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to come across as.
Yeah, and again, I mean, because also I'm investing a lot into this album.
Of course.
Like, I gotta, again, if I want the right drummer for the album.
Yeah. And you're recording live.
and we're live tracking. So
Yeah.
so it's really important. And again, it's hard because when I was trying to find a new drummer, like it is a scary notion because you're like, there's actually a lot of people who are drummers, but you cannot find any of them. At least in my circumstance, like I need musicians, but I don't know any musicians. You know?
Sure. Yeah.
It was one of those things. And it seemed like I knew 100 different kinds of guitarists, but I couldn't find a single drummer. But so Alan came in and it was great, and I held the audition, and he did a great job. And I said, "Cool, I want to give you. Are you down?" He goes, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." I said, "All right, here's the terms. Here's what you're gonna get paid." He goes, "Cool, awesome."
That's so sick, dude.
And then a few days later, he goes, when we're setting it up, he goes, "Hey, man, actually, my band that I'm in, because a lot of drummers always have another. Of
course.
He's like, we actually got signed to a record label. I can't do it. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, oh, this fucking sucks. But Alan, being the stand-up guy that he is, because he committed. He committed to us, but he was like, but don't worry, I have some other recommendations
Yeah.
for you. And that's when he recommended a few other people, one of them being Malik, who's actually a good friend of his, who had just got back from a 7-month tour, touring with a metal band.
Wow.
So the guy is, what his life is, I eat, breathe, and do drums. That's what he
Wow,
does.
dude.
So I contacted him. So I looked at they had a few Instagram things, and I saw like a video, it was like hardcore drum. I'm like, that's the attitude, that's the aggression that I want. So I sent him an email like, hey, Malik, just want to let you know, man, I'm a friend of Alan's. He recommended you. He was about to do this project for this album I'm doing. Wanted to offer an audition for you. If you want to come in, these are the terms and conditions. Here's a few songs, like a live recording of songs that we did. If it sounds like something that you dig or vibe, I'd love you to come on for an audition. He said, hey, man, if you're a friend of Alan's, then I trust Alan's judgment. Sure, I'll come in for an audition.
Super cool.
So I had him and another drummer who Malik Deering recommended, one of his buddies, come in to audition. Same day, I rented out amp rehearsal, and they came in for an hour, and I set it up where I gave them a few songs to learn to see how close they can get to the original drummer for the songs that I did with him.
These are still your live performances, or
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's a little hard, but
no? But that's. I was just wondering if it was your music that they were instinctively going off of, or if you were giving them like another artist. Like,
no, it was definitely it was one of the songs that I'd done with the previous drummer. So there was a live recording of it.
Okay, cool.
And then there was and then I told him that there was going to be kind of another song that we're just going to play, improvise. Because I want to see their creative instinct. I want to see where they intuitively go and just get the overall vibe. So one is like, can you copy what we had been doing? And then two, let's see what you really do with just us playing around and see if you have if the right instinct. I'm like, that's the guy.
See, that's pretty smart. Yeah, because you get like you get their vibe too, like if they get frustrated or like what kind of energy they're putting off, which is really I think important.
Well, and I take it from the whole formula of auditions for actors. You bring you give them sides to prepare for an audition, and
that's
then
where that comes from.
Yeah, and then you bring them in. You go, any questions? Like, just do your own take first. No questions. I just want to see what you do. I want to see your instinct. And then you give them a direction. You see how well they take a direction. Will they listen to you when you're doing the recording? We're like, hey man, actually, can you try here with the drums and do this? And see, they're like, oh yeah, totally. I'm like, that's what I like.
Yeah.
It's that collaboration. Like I know that we're open to each other, and there's no ego, and there's no things that will disrupt. Like I said, the golden rule, which is disrupting the creative process, because that's
God,
the death of art, and that's the death of what can be an innovation that really changes a song, which is what I care about most, which is making the song as great as possible. I don't care about how great my part is or how great I want to sound on it. I care about what's best for the song. And if the song is simplicity and making the drums as simple as possible, because that's what the song requires, then that's what we do.
Yep.
But so we did the audition with him, and he was just absolutely just on point, and it was really great. And then the other guy came in who was also great too. He was awesome, and but my gut told me to go with Malik, and it paid off because the guy is giving me so much more back.
Yeah.
It's actually ridiculous. I mean, again, it's one of those things where not only do I have one genius, I have two geniuses who are doing the album with me, and I'm like, fuck, I really hit the jackpot on this.
Yeah, I know how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great feeling. Sorry, that was a long-winded answer to what
That's why we have you on, Alec. I was just like, Alec, we'll just go. It's the best.
Yeah.
But real quick, I have a thought of like, and I think this applies, but I think a lot of musicians, at least for me, like learning to play on camera, for instance, which is playing shows is one thing, but it's like if you fuck up, you just keep going. On camera, you have to do another take, and then you're like thinking like, oh, did I fuck up the whole take? Like, And it's not like a recording on like a track or something because you can just stop and do it again. But I think I'm trying to adopt this mentality of like, I'm never the observer. Like, I don't want to be conscious of what I'm doing necessarily from like an observer's perspective. I want to be conscious of what I'm doing as just a player and as someone who's having fun playing.
Right.
And I think with Don't Change the Channel, like when we recorded that the other day, like it was so fun. I still fucked up a little bit, but it was just like subtle little things here and like we could kind of fix them, but like it was just so fun, like doing that mental practice. And I think if I had to audition for a role in a band, unless I was singing like guitar, I would have a really hard time.
Yeah.
Like without, like I would just think of I would be like watching myself do it, but like not in a good way.
Well, and you know what? I know that's why I'm lucky that I wasn't auditioning. That's the great part is that I didn't have to audition. It was them, but it is interesting because you do see the shoulders start to like get relaxed and calm down.
Yeah.
Like in the audition, I could tell Malik was, not that he was like nervous or anything. I can just tell that he's, it's an audition. He doesn't really know me that well. You're trying to make it as cordial as possible. Obviously, he knows it's an audition for a job, that he's overqualified for because, it's like he's touring with other, But the great thing is that the more we got into rehearsals through the last 2 months, you can tell the attitude of both of those musicians start to change little by little because now they're starting to have even more fun, starting to get comfortable. They're starting to be, you can tell that they just come in and they're relaxed and they're ready to jam and they know that the environment's like, oh, this is a cool environment. He doesn't care whether I try something new or whatever. It's like if I have an idea. And if you create that environment just from a leadership perspective, it breeds just more gold that's going to come your ways. And that was one of the, at least just for me, not even, they don't even know, but for me personally, it's like that's what I wanted to make sure occurred, which is that, like I said,
they feel a part of it too.
They feel a part, again, even though you're a session player, you get treated as a musician. Yeah. You're not treated as someone who, you're a talking monkey that I tell you to do something and you do it. My whole thing is that, I hired you for a reason, and when you have those two musicians, no matter what, maybe if there was any other musicians there, the album will never sound the way that it did without you two. Because it's three creatives. It's the way that we all mesh together. Regardless of you being a session player, I'm like, well, you have an opportunity to get to use their creative. You might as well use that. So
that's something we push really hard in Celestial is like whenever we're like if Flo's going to play drums or Frog's going to play guitar, especially, dude, we just like, yeah, man, this is what I was thinking, but do your thing. And then they do it. And it's just, it's real worn on keys. We haven't let him do that as much yet.
Yeah, we got to start letting him do that.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You never know. And it's great because one of the things that I realized is I lost my train of thought. Sorry,
dude, it happens all the time on this show, especially when I have like 3 or 4 beers, and I'm like, I look like an idiot.
I forgot the fuck I was gonna say.
No, dude, you're good. I was actually I was gonna ask you. So say this becomes like your band, or are you looking for this to become like your band, or is it still the Juliennes is you?
You know what? That's an interesting thing that I've been trying to figure out. We kind of spoke about this a little bit. I'm curious what you guys think about it too. As of right now, I am obviously the force behind it. You know, this is
you wrote all the songs,
and I'm taking care of all the kind of the behind the scenes stuff that you need to take care of as a band and all that. And that's not their responsibility. The only thing that I want them to do is to worry about getting to play music. That's all I want. All you gotta do is just show up to rehearsals, give me everything you got at rehearsals, and the same thing for the show. That's all I care about. If you do that, then that's good enough for me. And I don't want to, and especially because they're, like I said, they're both in different bands and doing their own thing and all that stuff too. I think maybe that would be a conversation when the day comes where, say, the band's really catching steam and it's like it's blowing up. I'm like, then I would have the conversation and be like, hey guys, you know, I'd love you to be, or even if they said I can never make that commitment, well then I make them the full-time session players. And again, even now, even with every show I ever play with Malik, I always paid him.
Of course.
And same thing with the drummer as well. I would do the same thing where, you know, I pay them for all the rehearsals. I pay them for the session that they're going to do with the album for the 4 days, you know, the 4 10-hour days. Like, they're getting paid for it because I can't expect them to make that commitment yet until I have to prove to a certain degree of the legitimacy of it all. And then I think maybe there'd be the day would come, they're like, hey man, I actually I want to do this. I'm like, all right, then let's do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's still something I'm thinking about. But as of right now, I don't burden them with the responsibility of having to worry about anything else but just showing up and playing. And I think because of that, they actually enjoy it more too. Because like, what's better than to get paid to just play music and just be creative and have an idea when you come.
Bro, that's the dream.
Not much.
Yeah, right.
Not much better than that.
Yeah, I'll take on all the other shit while you guys do that. I think that's
cool.
As of right now, again, it could totally change. But actually, that's what I was gonna say. I treat them as musicians, a part of the band, and not session players. The only thing that I get to do, because I'm paying them as session players, is that I get the final say on how I want the song to go if something happens.
Sure.
And again, it's very rare that I've ever, I mean, even when we play, I'll be like, oh, can we try it this way and that? I'm like, cool. But there's never been something where I've had to be, you know, like a dictator or totalitarian. Never. And if I am, that means that I'm doing something wrong. You know?
Or it's just not your vision. Like, I think that's something that we all have to get comfortable with. And I think what's cool about us, I always bring it back to us. I sound like
no. Please, I don't want to talk about myself this whole time. So please, you guys need to talk.
I'm just trying to relate because we're both in kind of a similar position. But for us, it's like if I wrote the core of the song, let's say lyrically or something, or like there's a certain tone that I had in mind on like a synth. There's a couple little things I'm like, I'm not changing that. Right. And same for Neal. Like if Neal wrote like some of the songs were written like pretty independently. They were produced together, but they were written independently. And so for like if I told you, hey man, don't change the channel, that tempo needs to be fucking, you know,
up it.
You'd be like, no.
Yeah, no. I mean, I might always be down to like try it out.
Yeah,
like for example, we were working on that new song the other day, the one that I wrote the lyrics to, and you know what I'm talking about, kind of Chili Peppers like song. And
Never Knew?
Never Knew.
Never Knew, yeah.
And you wanted to experiment with like the form of the song. Post-chorus, you were like, let's try this. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. I didn't even have a second verse written. And we tried it, and I listened, you know, for a day, and I was like, yeah, I want to keep it more kind of classic, you know? And I was just like, at least we tried it. You know?
Exactly.
It's always good to try things, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Because you never know when you're going to get that gold. You just Gotta keep digging.
Right.
Totally. And we get addicted to things. I think that's what's so nice about being in a two. Like, well, it's Neal and I are like the
You guys
the
are
face.
you guys are spearheading the band.
Yeah, I mean, Flo is really he stepped up a bunch. I mean, he's still producing and drumming, but he stepped up a bunch in like really becoming like a core part of it. Like he's a part of Celestial.
That's awesome.
Which is, my God, dude. Like I dreamt of that day. I prayed for that day.
Yeah.
I prayed so hard.
We made it happen.
Yeah. But like, oh fuck, dude, I just lost my train of thought.
Talking about like trying things.
Oh yeah, so you get stuck in your way. Like I went through like a phase where like heavy and then adding a bunch of tension was like required in at least one section of every song I was writing.
Sure.
And Neal has always offered a fantastic balance to me wanting to just push things.
Right.
Like just I'm like louder, more. Like that's what I do.
Well, that's funny because I always am adding so much shit to my stuff too.
Yeah, but I think mine's more like distortion. Like I'm just like
Right, yours is more like sonically, I guess, and mine is more like let's add a million
busy.
things to this arrangement.
But that's what's so cool. So like imagine this scenario, and I just had a little epiphany. It's like imagine I'm like trying to drive something one direction.
Right.
And like we have the same concept in mind. Like we want to add more. So if I'm adding a third guitar layer that's like going to be harmonic or something, Neal would be like, let's make it a synth. Right? Or let's add ear candy here. And then we have to make space for it. So we're going to remove some of the overdriven stuff. And then it becomes a new thing.
Right.
You know, so I think for us, it works really well. Like, I think I could do very well writing just folk, and I could do pretty well writing just rock. I don't think it would stand out maybe as much at the end of the day as Celestial will.
Sure.
It doesn't break as many boundaries. But, like, I think for Celestial, I need Neal to, like, be that. And now with Flo in the production stage, it just, there's even more happening where it's like these little tweaks where you're seeing things kind of, like, really combine from inspiration.
Yeah, it's like, Jimmy Page needs Robert Plant. They're Led Zeppelin is Led Zeppelin because of those four guys. You can't take one person out and have Led Zeppelin. It just doesn't.
It's true.
It's like same thing with the Beatles. Same thing with that's why bands are very, very interesting compared to just like single artists.
It's true.
Well, single artists, there's producers, there's
right.
Yeah.
But
Even
for
like
a band,
track.
but for a band, it's the song is made by those 4 or 3 or 5 people.
Yeah,
it's the core of it, and it's and that's what makes it so unique. Is you get a combination that just so happens that all the little idiosyncrasies of each person line up perfectly to make a band that will never sound the same without any of them, and that's what makes it special and unique. That's why Dave Grohl talked about it too. He's like, anytime I see Chris Novoselic and we jam, no matter what we do, we sound like Nirvana. We can't we can't not sound like Nirvana. That's just when
synergy.
Yeah, it's when us two play music, that's what we sound like. When Dave Grohl plays with the people on with Foo Fighters, they sound like Foo Fighters. And I'm like, and that's that element that you can't put in a book that you really don't understand. It's just the way that things work with each other or go, or I don't know what you said, synergy.
Yeah.
So I think that's what's really cool about it. And
do you ever like I remember growing up, like you'd hear about a band breaking up, and you'd be like so heartbroken, and then you'd hear that band like start another band, or like one of those people, and you'd be like, oh, there's a little bit of what I like in there.
Right. You start to see what that person brought to the specific band.
Yeah.
Like when the Strokes do their all their independent stuff. When I see like the Voids, which is Julian Casablancas' band, you can tell what he leans into. Like you see, like, okay, that's totally Julian. That's if Julian was just being his own creative. And some people really like it. And the Voids, they have some good stuff too. But there's something about the Strokes that when you get Albert Hammond Jr., you get Nick Valencia, you get all those people together, and I'm like, fuck. Like that's like you're like, that's the fucking Strokes. And those two guitarists, the way that they interact with each other, it's like,
Fabrizio.
That's the good stuff. And it's interesting, and that was one of the things that I forgot when I had my brain fart for a moment. Is the other thing that comes with kind of keeping the players as session players for a moment, or just that kind of one of the things that have been in my mind is one of the main reasons why I believe bands don't make it is because they don't last long enough.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Like and it's hard because you think about it, like, okay, you got it is a relationship. You are a family.
Yeah.
It's 4 people. So how to mitigate that and try to make sure that you band doesn't break up so you can actually have your success.
Right.
It's you have to really have a good communication with one another, and also establish who's doing what. Like who's responsible for what here, and how is the look at that fucking thing. Did you see that?
No.
That was like the
Big bug?
Yeah, it was the. I think it went into the fireplace and it's dead. But sorry, my.
We're in nature.
Yeah,
Get out
but
of here.
I do. That's one of the things that I think about is, because of the position that it is right now. Where
Look at that fucking thing.
I'm sorry, like that. It looked like a fucking like its legs were long, and it was. I'm like, yeah, it looked like
Don't
an ancient
love that.
mosquito. I was like, oh shit. I hope-
Ancient mosquito carrying dinosaur blood.
fuck, what was I saying?
Came from the permafrost.
They're coming. The ice is melting.
Band's breaking up. not
Right.
long enough.
That's why I always wonder. At least it's a nice position right now where when you don't have to give the other bandmates pressure like that to have to okay, you have to take care of the LLC, you have to take care of the marketing, you have to take care of this and that. It's a lot. And if I can handle it right now, I'm like, all you got to worry about is the music, and maybe because it is the buck does stop with me, and I have to figure it out. At least for right now, I'm like, it works.
Yeah, and you made a really good point earlier. You have to prove yourself. Like, you have to prove that the project is real.
Right.
And you have to prove that people are going to listen. And that's the hardest stage. And that's where I think musicians usually get it, because everyone's been a part of a project where you don't have a lot of listeners.
Right.
And it could be marketing. It could be the music. It could be whatever the case,
Right.
But I think, what is your timeline, I guess, for success of a band? For me, it's infinite. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'll do Celestial because I love it.
And that's the same thing with me. That's why the Juliennes it's my project, because for me it's like it's not a side project. Like, this is the vehicle in which for the rest of my days when I'm making music, it goes through the band, the Juliennes. Whether that just means it's just me and I always have rotating musicians, or it's the two musicians who I'm working with now who are like, no, dude, I'm on board. I want to do this. I'm like, then let's do it. That's awesome. But for me with the time, like you said, the only reason why I say you kind of have to prove yourself is how many times have you been with other musicians like, yeah, we're gonna do this project, and then like you kind of do it, but no one really does anything.
Honestly,
but like they do it in half measures, and it's
many times.
yeah, and that's why I understand why a lot of musicians, when you go, hey, do you want to join my band? They're like, okay. 6 months, I'm sure I'll be on to the next band after this. Unless you're, and I think taking those steps of like, no, I'm an LLC. I've registered all this stuff. I'm investing $10,000 into this. Like, this is I'm 100% in. And if they see that and they go, oh no, he really means it. He's one of the few musicians who not only has maybe a vision or music that I like, but he's actually doing all the other steps, the steps that most musicians don't want to do because it sucks. Because it's a business thing. It's not music. It's all the other bullshit. But you're like, you have the discipline and the willingness to do that stuff. Like, I don't know a lot of musicians who are like, okay, like they're actually going to be a band and they're going to do it in the way where, no, they do want to be touring and they do want to make a living off of this and they do want to be playing those dream venues or festivals or any of that stuff. And I think if you prove yourself in that way to the other players, it makes them more motivated, and you can see the excitement when they come in to rehearse. There's like, this is a real thing. This isn't just a kind of project that we're doing that we put all this time in and then you kind of maybe release it and then nothing happens and you forget about it 2 months later.
Ew.
Yeah, and I think that's just, like I said, you got to lead by example. So if you're committed like that and you show that you're committed like that, I think the other people or the other parties will feel the same way and they'll do what you're doing.
If they don't, there's other folks out there.
100%, exactly. But at least for me, I've seen my fellow musicians in the band, like I can see them get more motivated, and you start to see them come up with ideas and even start to take the initiative on things that you're like, really? He's like, yeah, I know. Like my bassist, we were on a phone call and he was in Florida and he was telling me about all these venues that he knows out here that we can go play at. I'm like, oh, he's really, really on board with this.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's really cool and that's exciting because what it does is just it builds up that momentum too for the band. So it's a trip. It's a trip. But I always think that's, like I said, and you guys are one of the bands too who are really doing it, and that's an awesome thing because you're like, Celestial just isn't a band that you're gonna know. Oh, I knew them 10 years ago. They did something at one. They were at Molly Malone's one time. Like, no, you guys have that same kind of headspace where you're like, no, I really want to do this.
Want to keep going.
I want to, and you guys
Longevity,
are, and,
yeah.
and you show it by just the day-to-day grind. You do a podcast, you're doing songs. It's like, that's the only indicator to me that a band is serious, is that they're...
We're posting on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. We have 16 followers on TikTok.
You know
we just
what?
started doing that.
17.
You know, that's 16 more than I have. So you're doing
dude,
great.
we fought that battle for so long, and then
Yeah.
finally I was like, "What the fuck are we doing? Just post it on TikTok."
You just never know.
Yeah.
No, and it
never
helps.
know.
Like, and I'll put the same posts on my TikTok that I put on the Celestial page TikTok, and always tag Celestial, and like people will look at the page or something. You know, like little things. But I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like we're doing, and that, to your point, like, but thank you for saying that you look at Celestial as a legitimate project.
No, you guys are
Yeah.
100%, man.
It's been our life the past 2 years, and we're just now getting to show people what we're doing, which is cool, and it gets better. But like, we've really diversified on the, like, we could go play shows in LA, and I think it's really important, obviously. But also, I'm like, how else, like, what's the best way to get attention? It's like obviously the internet, but like, how do we differentiate ourselves? Well, obviously the podcast from our previous conversations that people listen to all the time. Oh, those are peaceful. Yeah, those are peaceful.
It wasn't the one that I saw.
Oh, okay.
The one that I saw looked like it had like a needle that would go through your neck. Like, I swear to God.
Sorry to throw it off. Good.
Oh, it fucking died. It went right into the fire. I'm like, well, you short-lived, man.
That's funny. But the rooftop shows, like the little, finding ways to get creative and show different versions, like, and just like, I don't know. If my goal is to post every other day at a minimum, but it has to be a decent high quality post. Like,
Right.
it could be something that's kind of repetitive sometimes, but
That's okay.
it doesn't matter because only half the people who follow you see it, and a bunch of strangers see it at the same time. So it's
Right.
like different audiences see it all the time. So that's one thing that recently I've like really just stepped up in my own mind and just been like, dude, like, you have to do this. Like, it sucks. It actually doesn't suck because we've made it fun.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I mean, again, I hate social media in every way possible. But that being said, you can do social media like, and I think we might have spoken about this last podcast, but we talked about you can do social media in a way that doesn't go against your brand and of a person, and
Yeah,
you're
you
more
can be genuine
you
still.
could be genuine, and you can really just post good quality music. And
Yeah.
you know what? I swear to God, there are people out there who are sick and tired of a lot of the bullshit and want to hear a genuine artist and a genuine band. And you guys are that already. So all it takes
Thank
is whatever. If you guys post that and you put yourself out there, there will be people who are like, thank God, finally,
Yeah.
I want to listen to good music. I want to listen to a band who like has their shit together. Like, they got chops. Like, they can play. They are serious artists. They're not making music for an algorithm. There's none of that.
Oh, yeah.
They make music because it is a genuine expression of the human soul, and yours is in the form of Celestial. And you can tell those songs are genuine. And again, there'll be some people who don't like your music because they just don't like what you guys do. Some people are just not going to like my music, but that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. The fact is, everybody will appreciate and go, at least that they're honest. I don't have to like your music, but you're fucking honest and you're genuine, so I'll give you that. And I think people will respect that 100%, especially in this day and age when so much crap. I mean, you see it all the time. You're like, really? That's what they're propping up. Wow, man.
Well, there's a lot of money behind those projects.
Oh yeah, and it's like, all right, but you know what? I will die on this hill. There is a counterculture that's emerging, and you can tell. And even with things like you said, the reason why vinyls are starting to sell a lot again, the reason why a lot of kids are starting to go to flip phones again, which is really interesting and hilarious at the same time.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people, especially in that age group, who've been so used to having technology growing up that now they're starting to revert back to something that isn't that, which is, I want a physical copy of music. I want to own my music again.
Analog.
I want to own an album.
Yeah.
Because you can have stuff online, you can own stuff on Spotify or whatever, however it works, but if that shuts down, or they can kick you off and it's not yours anymore.
My only faith comes from the fact that NFTs didn't work out.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Thank God.
If that would have worked, I'd have been like,
Celestial NFT.
Yeah.
A little astronaut helmet.
it would have been a cool one.
Yeah, it would have been. We would have done good with that.
But they're selling too. I think that people, and even like I said, I think plays are starting to become even more popular now because it's in person.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And I honestly think there will be some kind of shift that happens in the next few years where people start to revert back to, like, they want to buy a band's vinyl record,
Yeah.
and they want to go see a band play live, and a lot of the other stuff online will become a little secondary in some ways because it's so saturated, and also with the AI stuff and people I've heard people talk about.
It's going to be the only way you can tell if something's real anymore.
And it's like 100% certified certified human.
See it with your own fucking eyes.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could say like they say certified organic, like certified human. Like this was you cannot get this. You
only
cannot,
way you can tell.
Yeah, you cannot.
Like,
you cannot get
point.
this. Yeah, you cannot get this anywhere else. Like you cannot get my record or you can't hear my music except if you buy my vinyl. Like that's the proof, and it's like there's something cool to that. It's just like fuck, like I know that this band or this artist is 100% legitimate because I went to see them play live, and guess what? They're fucking good.
Yeah,
and that is legit to me, and it doesn't get any more real than that. So that's been percolating in my mind for a bit about just. Again, because I've always, like I said, I've always wanted to be the live show. That's what I care about most.
We should get tattoos that say certified organic.
I actually like that too. Yeah, like the milk carton one. Non-GMO, non-AI.
We are GMO'd the fuck.
Yeah, we're all GMO'd.
But I think there's something. And again, whether I'm sure I'll get critiques on that, but there's something true to that. There is something that rings true to me though about that.
I have a question. Where do you draw the line with AI? So, say in a mixing process, someone uses an AI analyzer to EQ. Like, do you think that's real or not?
The only problem is because I don't know what that means.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
There are fine applications to AI. If someone uses it to help them, like you said, EQ, which is a mixing tool.
Sure.
In other words. I don't know. I think that's okay. But if you're using it to like write lyrics for you, write melodies, like
make this better.
That's where I kind of draw the line.
Yeah.
I watch it like I put in like In the Stars or something in one of our songs, and it's just like I would try doing this, and I'd be like, I sing it, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I guess that's the conversation that's kind of happening right now, right? And again, I don't know. I'm definitely not. I don't have enough information or have done enough research to have any kind of authority on the topic, but.
It's your gut, though. It's your heart.
Yeah, my gut tells me that there's something about it that just seems, whether it's a lack of, it's laziness or it's just wrong to me. But
it's cheap.
It's and then there, and I again, it's just it's the same thing that's happened before. Or I felt in the past. It's like even with movies, right? People have all this new technology to make movies. This new green screen, all the visual effects stuff. And you watch a movie from the 90s or the 2000s that doesn't have it, and it still looks better.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times it does.
And like Quentin Tarantino.
Practical
practical. And you're like, it's still better. And that was 40 years ago. It's like, maybe there's something wrong there. Because, like, again, I just try to see with my eyes. And if that's what I see, and I'm like, you can tell me you spent $400 million in special effects, but if the one that was only spent $10,000 on, but it was creativity and the way that they were able to portray that was with $10,000 and it looks way more real, I'm like, well, then that's the better.
Well, it's two different audiences too, because like if you look at like Transformers,
right?
Kind of fun. It's like riding a roller coaster.
Sure.
But if you watch True Romance, it's like kind of like watching a play. It's like it's very creatively shot and written, and
But I even say even with Transformers, like the first one, like there's a lot of special effects, but a lot of it looks really. I mean, they do a lot of practical, like like things explain. Obviously, the robots aren't real, but even then, it's like I know. What's funny about that is even in that movie, though that CGI looks really good compared to what it does, and it's like there's something that's missing that I don't, and I can't put my finger on, and I think
it's like pre-made models because and this is why I said AI is cheap because like AI can take. Think about how do I do this. What's the best like comparison? Okay, like well, that's not really good a comparison, but I mean, for cooking, right? Like you could buy pre-measured ingredients, and it's going to save you time. You'll pay a little bit more for it, but then you just mix it all together and you get a perfect cake.
Right.
But then like
you get grandma's home cooking, and you're just like, God damn, there's something about it that's just.
And then there's the next level of like I'm going to grow everything in my garden.
Right.
Like that's like the next level. So like I think with technology, it's always just layers. Like video games, they don't remake a new engine every time. They leverage an existing one. So if you're making a movie and there's have a budget of whatever 10% of your budget's on CGI and stuff, it's like, well, how do you make that more cost effective? Well, you're going to use like Disney will reuse animation models from previous things, adapt them, and then make them into something new. And that just gets layered and layered and layered, where you start to lose its magic.
Well, and I also think, I've been thinking about this too lately. I think about the movie that was like one of the highest grossing movies of the year. Was it 2 years ago? Was one of them Oppenheimer, which is the Christopher Nolan film, which was shot on film, shot the old school way in a lot of aspects. And it was a fucking biopic, man. And that made more money than anything else. And
Yeah.
you're like, and it looked better than all the movies that have come out.
And
you're
all
like,
the explosions were practical
Yeah.
effects, right?
yeah. And you're just like, and you're like, you know
I
what?
think so. I
So-
don't think they
I'm
used
wondering if
any
that-
animation.
That nuke. When
I think it was practical.
They
I've-
so fucking sent off a nuke for that.
I remember
Oh
they
no,
did
they
something
didn't
was like,
send off a nuke. No, that's not what I mean. I did literally fucking draw. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think fucking any producer could
Yeah.
get the right to do that. Not George Lucas, not fucking anyone.
Have you ever seen Tropic Thunder?
Yeah.
that movie is so fucking good, dude.
He's like, I'm about to blow the titties off this bitch or something like in the beginning. And he just like they blow it up, and that's like my favorite. Sorry,
And that's it's one of my favorite. It's my favorite comedy of all time. But to that point, though, you know, you get a movie like that does it. A lot of the still harkens back to a lot of the old school ways and old school techniques, and you can tell the work of art still looks better than all that other stuff. And I think with music too, like people have all these different ways to make music now cheaper, do this or that, and again, it's not that all of it's bad. There's a lot of new innovations that happen that you can use that make it easier, right? You don't need to cut tape. You don't have to do that anymore,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But there are elements though that also get lost in that process. That even like the idea of, like you said, of making an album, of it being a real, like a narrative storyline, like through and through, and it's a 12-song thing that's curated a certain way. I'm like, that should never have been thrown away. And hear people, and you get to hear everybody in the industry go, "No, singles are where it lives."
Yeah, we're in
that's what
singles
that's what it
fucking
is, man.
market.
I'm like, says who? Like, get fucking bent. I don't give a shit if you guys.
Well,
feel
the
that way.
reason for singles is just the marketing technique of it.
Right, and that's what they said. Like, albums aren't really relevant anymore. I always hear people talk about that, and I just say,
Dude, there's a couple billion people on the planet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and there's nerds everywhere. Like, and I'm a nerd. Like, I'm not throwing shade, but like, I think you just said that, and I got so excited about the Celestial album because I was
Yeah.
just like, I thought of like the way it starts and the way it ends with like,
exactly.
And I'm just like,
Yeah, it's a message.
yeah, there's like a little love story in there.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. That's what for me. I think that shows if you really have your chops as an artist, as a musician. Can you make an album? Can you make a 12 or whatever song album that really has a through line to it? I think that determines, not a single. I think it takes a different kind of an artist to be like, I made an album. And it's really well thought out, and like again, it's to this day, again, people always tell you, but that no, how the industry works, you should do this, you should do that, this is how the money goes, and I'm like, I never cared, and I want to do what
Yeah.
I want to do, which is I've always liked albums.
Well, moment of truth here.
Yeah.
Alec. Are you going to release your album without releasing a single first?
I've, it's funny, so
Not trying to throw shade at you,
No,
because
no.
I think the overall project is what you're talking about.
yeah,
but
no,
I'm
no,
wondering, like,
it's not, and let me reiterate this. It's not about releasing a single. It's about when people don't have an album at all, and it's just a single. Like they just
that's how they write
You're
their
right, that's
music
how
about
they-
the process.
right,
'Cause
it's
you can
just-
still write an album and release it as
Yeah.
singles, and then compile it
Right.
into an album, and you have a big
I mean, and that's what
overarching theme still.
right, and that's what they've done. I mean, again, a lot of artists 20, 30 years ago, they had a single or two singles on there to promote the
Yeah,
album.
exactly,
But they're
exactly.
just
Still
picking,
an album.
But yeah, they're picking songs out from the album,
Yeah,
though. It's not
exactly.
like I just wrote 100 singles a month. I'm just like putting stuff out there and writing songs. I'm like there's something, I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't really click with me compared to like whatever your favorite band is or artist, and they go, okay, I've listened to their Because of the Times album, Kings of Leon, or whatever album, you're like, I love their Shake Heartbreak era. I love this era. I love, and
Yes,
there's
yeah.
something, and it's like because it is like a movie. It is a time capsule into a certain place in time in the band's life,
Yeah.
what they're going through, how they're feeling, and it's encapsulated in an album
1000%.
and a narrative, and that represents what they were like and that sound, what they were like during that era. And I think there's really something cool about that that's missing. And regardless of people saying, well, it's not financially a good idea, I'm like, I don't care. I want to make a great quality album because guess what? I want to make great quality work. And I know for a fact that if you only care about that, just making great work and a great album, that's when you're actually going to make more money. That's what people don't understand.
I agree, and I also don't think like what we were talking about with the album, like you don't have to make it so that you like ignore what makes sense in the modern marketing world.
Right.
It's like, how can I make the marketing about my product
Right.
instead of how can I make my product about
About
the
the
marketing?
marketing. That's a good point, yeah.
People hear, the quote-unquote gurus of the marketing world saying, it's a singles market
Right.
now, so you have to release singles, and then they're like, okay, well, that's how I should write. but
Right.
that doesn't necessarily mean that's how you have to write.
Yeah. And you know what? I honestly believe still it's funny. I was actually talking to Malik about this today in the car. You ever see that movie Legion? It was like that weird movie about like the girl who's about to have a baby and like these angels come down from Earth, like they want to.
I've heard about it.
Yeah, it's with like Paul Bettany.
Okay.
It's like a it's an action film angel thing that came out like 2010. But there was one line that made me. I think that's kind of relevant to this conversation. In the movie, there's the bad angel who's trying to kill the baby, and then there's Paul Bettany, who's like the one angel who went against everything and said, "No, you got to keep this baby to redeem humanity," or something deep about some of that sort. And at the end of the movie, Paul Bettany sacrificed himself, and then God made him come back. And the bad angel's like, "How did you come back?" And he goes, "You gave God what he wanted. I gave him what he needed." And I think there's something that applies to the idea with music, which is you give people what they want, what the industry wants, which is singles. But I think what people need is that is it reverting or the regression back to a quality album,
Yeah,
or quality music like that. Because I think that all it takes is one person to do something like that, and for something to occur and to catch fire, and then the whole industry changes again.
Bro,
1,000%.
have you ever seen like how people upload like movies to TikTok in like clips?
Yeah.
Like
It's the most insane thing.
Sure.
So this is I don't want to change the conversation too much, but I see what you're saying. Like, so like TikTok when it first started was like dancing and shit.
Right.
And it became like really creative content creators and stuff and like weird stuff. And then I think now like most of my TikTok, Instagram, and it could be just my algorithm. Either it's music, which is always awesome, or it's like super high end production things in a TikTok form. So they'll clip a movie or they'll
Right.
clip like a really high quality music video or like it's like something you could never make the way TikTok was intended.
Right.
Just, for you to create as like somebody. Like you go into the TikTok editor, like you're not making a fucking movie
Right.
in TikTok editor. Maybe, I mean, people I'm sure are able to do it, but like I feel like where our brains naturally go is the things that have more depth to them.
right.
Over time, and I think when it was new, like TikTok and all that stuff, Neal, you might be out of the shot.
Oh, okay.
No,
Let me
sorry,
scoot
I
back
hate
in.
to do that. We got to get a wide angle lens at some point, but I think that like people connect with humanity in depth,
Yes.
right? And so it's like you said, like so for instance, TikTok, like I'll see a clip of a movie and I'll like take a note, I'm like I didn't watch that fucking movie,
Right.
And I sit there and I don't look at my phone,
Right.
the whole movie because I force myself to do that whenever I'm watching a movie because I want to respect the director,
Art.
the actors and
Yeah.
stuff. Unless it's a shit movie and Ellie like picks some fucking chick flick or something. There's some great chick flicks. There's some great chick flicks, but like,
Love
That
Island
is
or something.
awesome.
yeah, dude,
That
no.
has got to be the tag, and that's
Yeah. Speaking of, we got to clip these fucking podcasts.
Yeah.
It's that's something I've been meaning to do, and I
Yeah.
never have. I'm always just like, fuck.
that's the first one right there.
Yeah,
That's
there
a
we go.
fucking chick flick.
We got some goodies in there, but yeah, I think people are always going to connect with like what moves them.
Yes.
And in a year, if we're in this position, maybe I'll make Flo shake his ass in our TikTok or something like that. Put his money where his mouth is, boy. No, but I agree with you. I think that is it's the way when I get old and die, I'm gonna look back and be like, yeah, I'm pretty happy I didn't shake my ass in TikTok. You know what I mean? No
Right.
shame.
Well, and
No shame.
and again, I really do think also that's been swirling in my brain too is the idea that anonymity is going to be a currency in a big way, and I think it already
Oh,
is.
no doubt.
And I think that
Oh, I saying like not being so available to the public and
yeah,
something.
Yeah.
and I think
Here we are.
yeah.
Well-
Well, I mean, it's funny. I was actually thinking about it today, like doing podcasts and stuff like that. There's a certain level to it. I think when you are so exposed in so many ways, and people really know, like I said, they know what you eat every day. They know what you're doing. There's for me at least, for my own taste, I will always go back to the actor's code, which is anonymity is the actor's greatest gift.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree.
And I think that applies to a lot of musicians in art. I think for a lot of artists, like it's not about me. It's always about the art that I'm doing.
Yeah.
I am the vehicle in which produces this, but the art or the project or the music, that is the forefront. I am behind the scenes. And I remember Harrison Ford said this he's in this show called the Inside the Actor Studio, and he said you said, you don't get to know my personal life. You don't get to know what I do, anything about that. But when you're for my characters though on screen, you get backstage VIP passes, baby.
Yeah.
You get to know everything.
like
You get to
that.
know about my fears, my dreams, my weaknesses, and all of that. And I think it's the same thing with music and with acting
Okay.
too, which is like you get to know everything you need to know about me through my songs, through what I do creatively.
See, I think that's an incredible luxury. I think it's more and more rare.
Yeah.
And I also think that financially it can hurt you. Because I think
Sure.
nowadays, if you want to be independent, I think you need to build a brand because that's eventually what's kind of developed. I hate the word brand. Because people have just, used it for all it's worth. And
Right.
my brand is, like whatever, my mommy TikTok kind of shit, kind of thing. But I think nowadays I've leaned more into being a bit more public because I want people to feel like they're getting a genuine product. And
Sure.
I think what helps with that is me being genuine in these, or us being genuine in these types of content. So
yeah.
my question to you is, well, I don't even know if it's really a question, but when I think of an artist like, say, Turnstile, like I love Turnstile, and they're very anonymous, really. I mean, you can follow their Instagrams and stuff, but it's like, they don't have a podcast. They're not like talking in front of a camera all the time. And,
Right.
like, if you get to see that, it's probably going to be in the form of some like documentary, or you see them live or something like
Right,
that,
right.
which I think is the coolest way to do it. If I saw a lot of opportunity to get to that point at the pace of which I want to start building things in this space, I would do that. But I think that's an incredible luxury to jump off and have success being so anonymous when
Yeah.
people are going to go from your song to a podcast to
Right.
another form of entertainment,
Yeah.
some clip. To hold someone's attention, you have to have like a real strong fan base, which can take a while to build.
Right. And you know what? And that's the thing. I don't know. I don't
None
know.
of us do.
Yeah, and I don't know, like you said, whether that would be a financial detriment to me, whether I did that or not. And if it is, it's okay because it's my choice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And like you said, if I'm the CEO of a company now,
Yeah.
which is my band, which is me as a musician, right? I am my own boss.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
I get to decide if I want to do a decision that, and it's true, it may hurt me financially compared to letting people get behind the stage doors of like what I do every day, who I am as a
Well,
person.
there's a balance, right?
There's a
Yeah.
balance, and also it's just based on we're all different.
Yeah.
You and there is this thing like the 12 archetypes. It's in like psychology. It's like the rebel, the sage, the everyman, or there's stuff like that. And like you said, that's a lot. What a lot of brands do is they go off of those archetypes because people relate to those archetypes. So if your archetype is, from say mine's the rebel, right? I have a certain thing, or it's the sage, where well, then that for me, what doesn't work is letting people into my life because that's not how I am. That's not who I am as a person. I've never been that way. Like this is the only second podcast I've ever done in my life, right?
Yeah.
And again, the only people I would do a podcast with is people like you because I respect you guys immensely.
But we don't just invite anybody on here.
Yeah. And I'll just do any podcast. I didn't mean to sound like I didn't mean to sound like an arrogant prick when I said
No,
that.
no. It's you respecting yourself for the type of person.
Right.
It's you're an artist. It's like
Yeah.
you like. I think you're very traditional in the sound you want to create. Not that it's not unique and new, because there's a lot of elements to it. You're combining all these kinds of things, but there's like a lot of very rooted inspiration.
Yeah.
I think it's not like you're going like, yeah, Kesha was a huge inspo, and like whatever. Like you're looking at like very real music to like tell your story and stuff.
Right.
And I think that is aligned with your brand.
But
You as an artist.
and it's true. And again, if you're one of those, like you said, you're one of those guys where people can really relate to, and they're like, oh, he seems like a genuine guy who I can really hang out with and I feel comfortable around. Well, that's what you guys do. You're able to do the podcast. People want to hang out with you guys. They want to chill with you. That's your brand, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's to each their own. You just have to know what it is that's your brand, and also that you're okay with doing. You literally, again, you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do.
Exactly.
Literally,
Yeah.
again, because guess what? I have an inkling or an intuition that if you do the things that are truly genuine for who you are as a person and your brand, you'll actually make more fans from it. If you are someone who's like, look, I've never been someone who likes to be open about stuff. I'm more anonymous. I'm more just like to be in the back and let kind of the band and the music be, and that's why I wanted to have a band too, because I don't want it to be me. I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be Alec Norris. I want it to be. It's the Juliennes. I'm just a front man in the band.
Tell you what, dude, promotion becomes a whole lot easier when you're promoting a band versus yourself.
Sure does.
Because guess what? I don't ever have to be the center of attention. And guess what? I don't want to be the center of attention. I'd rather just be clips or whatever you do content-wise that literally does not have me in there, except if I'm playing live. And guess what? I can find a way to make work. It's not impossible. It just hasn't been done yet to a certain way. There's a way to be anonymous and be all over social media. I truly believe that.
You're totally, and there's a lot of examples of that. And I was just saying, what I was saying, it wasn't like to the point to point out that like you're wrong in any way.
No.
What I'm saying
100%.
is like I don't know how bands like Turnstile. I mean, they started in like 2012 or something, so it's a bit of a different time. Do you know any bands that are like coming up right now that are becoming sort of like that haven't been around for like 8 years or something? Like I was thinking the other day, like in rock music, like I know like the Riffwood band. Do you know the Riffwood band?
No.
Oh, these fellas. I don't know where they're from, but they got. I don't know. I'm not trying to throw shade, but like
you're talking
they're
like making it to like really big success level.
Yeah, like getting to a point where they're like touring and they're known without leveraging something. Like I think it does happen, and there's tons of bands that are in that like medium range.
Yeah.
But the Riffwood band, they're all like 14.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
And I watched these guys, and they're selling out shows. I'm just like, and they sound like
They're
Green
really
Day.
good.
And I'm like,
oh, you did show me them at one point.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
There's a lot of bands that
whose
sound like
dad is behind this?
Yeah, I remember it. You said
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But you know what? Again, it's funny. The world has a way.
I think it's just a call.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the camera. I was like, what?
I was like, the world has a way of working things out where there's a lot of momentum in one direction, or there's a lot of stagnation. There's a lot of stagnation, and then all of a sudden, someone does something that completely breaks the whole trend and starts something new. It's always, again, it's the same thing that happened with like Nirvana in the '90s. Like, even though it's a different time and everybody says it's a different
EDM,
time. Yeah, it's
like
just there's always
Katy Perry.
yeah exactly.
Justin Bieber.
There's always something that happens that breaks the mold in some way, and it's because someone decides to do something that everyone else says is crazy or can't be done or is wrong, or no, the industry says to go this way. And the problem is because they're closed-minded, and because and it's always I think what's his name? Oh my, Orson Welles, he a great director from the 40s. He goes, a lot of the shots that Citizen Kane did were deemed impossible or couldn't be done in cinema. But he never came from a cinema background. He didn't know that. Because he was not trained. He just had a vision, and they got to do it, and then it changed the way of directing in cinema.
Yeah.
And it's like he goes, and they said, well, how do you know? Well, he's like, because I didn't know, because I wasn't. And I think it goes sometimes genius or creativity is there's something when you don't know and you don't know the rules, and that you're not bounded by anything. It's almost like Matrix with Neo. It's like you think this is air that you breathe.
Yeah.
but there is something to that though that's true. And I think that again, a lot of people who I know who are really deep in the industry say, no, you have to do this way. I'm like, says who?
Yeah.
Why?
Money.
Why do I? Yeah, the money. I'm like,
Because people are going to invest in those things and they want to know there's a market. I mean, dude,
Right.
like market research is a boring thing to do.
Yeah.
And like you should do your own little version of like if you're going to do like an Instagram ad, like you should see like
Right.
like, like little market research is fine. But like if you're looking, if you're with a label and like imagine you grow up. This is like a true nightmare in my mind. You grow up and you want to be a fucking rock star and you play in bands and stuff and whatever, and like your ticket to get what you think is in the music industry is like you're going to go work for a label and you're going to be part of like a marketing team or like an A&R, whatever it is. Like, but your boss is sending you a Microsoft Teams message about like an artist and about like revenue.
Right.
Like, can you imagine like that must be soul sucking in a way, and maybe you still have your passion project, like the same way any other corporate job is. But
Right.
like, I think, they control a lot of what's successful. I've seen Poppy ads on my Instagram for the past 5 months.
Yeah.
Really?
Like
She's already so big.
I know, but that doesn't matter. They all do ads. That's why I was like, we need to do ads.
And there's and to your point, there's nothing. And let me reiterate as well. There's nothing wrong with doing ads. There's nothing wrong with doing that marketing stuff. But the way in which people say no, you can't. You have to do it this way, though.
Yeah.
Like again, I understand.
What's
Of course-
your hook, Alec?
That's
Yeah.
when you get close.
Yeah, it's like what it's like. I understand you got to do marketing. I understand that you have to. There are certain things that are very true, right? That you have to do in the industry, but the foundation of it may be true. You have to market, right?
Yes.
You have to. We understand. You can't just be a band and not market. But the way in which they say you must market, like people are like, no, you got to have it. People have to know about your life. They got to know how you're doing this. You have to do this because that's what gets you fans. I'm like, says who, motherfucker? Like, go fuck yourself. I don't want to do that. And you know what? I'm sure there will be. If at the end of the day, all the bullshit aside, if you truly are a good artist and you truly make something great, like your album that you're about to have come out, there will be people who really like that.
Yeah.
And you will create a fan because you can create fans doing all the other kind of externalities, all the marketing and stuff like that. But if your art is not at a certain tier, you're only going to get so far.
Yeah.
You have to have high quality art that you make. And I think if you do that, if you focus on that first, and then you can, kind of go in the mud with the rest of the people and do all the bullshit with the marketing. If you put those two together, well, then you're a force to be reckoned with. If you are a band that's like, hey, you are the fucking next, you're like the Blink 182, but with aliens, like you talked about, but stuff like that. But you're like, no, you guys are as good as, like, you guys are as good as them. Like, you can do this. And you're also willing to, like, eat crow and, like, fucking mark in the way that you're going to. Oh, man. Poppy and them can, like, suck a dick compared to you.
Oh, dude, it's all love to Poppy. Don't go there.
No offense. I know you were going to say that too. Totally joking.
And they're very genuine ads. It's literally like a picture of her tour. And also, like, Blink-182, I have to correct this because, like, Blink-182 is already very aliens. It's
I'm just throwing myself under the shade.
No,
now.
you're good. You're good, Alec. I have to, like, the fact that people listen to this now, I'm like, oh, wait. Like, again, stop being the observer, John. I got to quit doing that. But, like, to your point, yes, exactly. Like, I think there's always a time you don't have to do anything right away that you don't want to do, and you should just go. I mean, dude, for a year and a half, we were just writing music, and we kept talking about it. And we'd play a show here and there, like.
And you're probably better for it because you guys just learn how to be just in sync with each other.
Yeah, that was pretty natural. It's kind of ridiculous.
Gotta build potential energy, though.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so funny. The other day, I told Neal, I was just like. I was like, Neal, I'm pretty much like, I'm just doing this for life. Like, I don't care what happens. And you're just like, yeah, me too. And I was like, thank God. Like, obviously, like, I want success for everyone in the project. I'm probably the only one who would never, like, I would never go on tour with another band unless, like, Celestia became successful enough to the point where, like, I could take, like, have a fun side project or something that's folk. You know what I mean? Like, but everyone else, like, you guys are professional musicians. It's how you pay your bills. It's like, I expect there to be a time where, like, Neal's like, oh, dude, I'm going on tour with so-and-so or whatever.
Right.
Like, that could happen for sure.
Unless you start making millions and you guys are like, I take that back. It looks like Celestial's all we're doing.
Dude, the moneymaker will be, I mean, music can make money. Actually, I'm not going to say that. But so I was, like, you've been more into the business side of things lately. Like, I never realized, like, I always heard touring's very expensive. Touring is very expensive.
Yeah, no, it's no joke. Yeah, after hearing the notes, I'm like, oh, I'm not making money for a very long time.
Losing money. In fact,
and you know what? I already went into this whole thing knowing that, like, again,
money's not the goal, really.
No, it's not.
Again,
it will be nice one day, but it's never the thing that makes me. I never make a decision based off of money
because you do it now.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I expected going into the album. Like, I remember I was talking to my parents about this, and they're like, "Wow, so you're investing a lot of money into this album?" I'm like, "Yes, I am." Yeah. They're like, "So how are you going to make it back?" And I'm like, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'm not making it back. I'm telling you, it's an investment because for something future to happen. He's like, but like, how are people going to purchase? I'm like, guys, you have to accept the fact more than I am right now because I've accepted it that I ain't going to be making money off of this, or. Maybe I could, but it's never in the forefront of my mind. No. I am okay with losing, like you said, going on tour and losing money. I will always pay everybody first before I pay myself. That's what happens when you're the CEO. You pay everybody first and you get paid last. And I'm okay with that. Yep. If I have to fucking bartend for 10 more years, which would suck, but I'll do it.
You're good.
But that's what you do because, again, every single dollar that I make is invested into the business, into the capital, and I was thinking about this too. I watched a documentary about Led Zeppelin, talking about how they kind of changed the business side of the music industry.
Just so you know, Led Zeppelin's sort of a sore topic on this podcast.
Why? What happened?
You dissed them.
I talked shit about it one time. My dad called me like the next day. He's just like, I'm worried about you. You can't be talking shit about like Led Zeppelin. I didn't really talk shit about them. I just said like, I don't get it being born when I was born in this world now.
You don't like their music?
I like it, but it doesn't move me.
That's okay. That's totally okay.
I can't imagine being there in 1968 is when Flo said that first album came out. That would have been an insane experience then, but now I just it sucks because I've tried so many times, and my brother likes him, like everyone likes him, and I'm just like. It just doesn't like grab a hold of me. And
guess what? That's totally okay.
Yeah.
I do not judge you in any way possible. But one thing I think you will really appreciate, which is cool. When I was watching the documentary, I didn't know this, but I forgot the name of the manager of Led Zeppelin. But he was I think he was like an ex doorman or something like that. He was a pretty hefty dude. And Jimmy Page was actually a really savvy businessman. And what they did, which changed the music industry and made it kind of snowball into probably what it is today, is they decided to fund their first album. Jimmy Page paid for the first album. They didn't have a label do any advancement. They did it. And
he was older, or like how did he do that? Was he just like
I don't know.
Like, I wonder if it's like parents' money.
No. He was a session player. I mean, they were
okay. They were
session players. So they probably saved up a lot of money and they made their first album. And because they made their first album, they had the masters, and they went to labels saying that they already made the album. So they had some sway behind it, and it changed the negotiating process with the labels in a way that gave them a percentage that no other band had ever gotten before. And also the guy who was a fucking brutal dude, the manager, who was kind of like kind of a beast and intimidating, he bullied them around and like made sure that they got a fucking serious deal that no other band had ever gotten. And the labels were freaking out because they're like, well, if this band gets this deal, like it's going to change the game because now other bands will figure out about it. And then they found a way where like the percentage that they got touring was like I think they got 90% of their touring percentage, where like people even like the Beatles got like 20%.
Well, that was also the time I think when they were like manufacturing music for the first time,
right?
Like previous to that.
Yeah. So it was this whole thing, and even back then they're like, you should release a single because the labels were like, well, because you'll make $1 or whatever off of the vinyl single record, we can make money. And they're like, no, we're just going to sell an album. And they made so much money. But at the end of the day, so they started doing these negotiating tactics with the labels and getting a lot of power as the band that started to make the industry freak out. And then it even went further when Led Zeppelin decided to make their own record label, Swan Song. So the rest of I think the last 3 albums was under Swan Song, maybe 3. Don't quote me on that. But and they became the record label, and it changed the whole game because all the bands after that who had done that route went back to what they had done, and it changed the industry. And what's interesting about it too is they said at the end of the day that they had saved $200 million because of the contracts that they had done, and they were like one of the richest bands because of that. But that goes. I forgot where that was going with that. Talking about the business side to it.
Real quick, what's the name of your record label?
I don't. Was it Alec Norris artist or something? I don't know.
We have Celestial Records.
I saw that. I saw that. Badass. Yeah, I think I was like Alec Norris LLC. I don't know what the fuck I did. Maybe it's the same name as my LLC. But
we still don't have an LLC. I was supposed to do it last week.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'll help you.
But
yeah, we'll part owners. Yeah.
But they did something like that where they paid for their record label, and that's what I was going to say. So the point of that is what that showed me is, I think, what a lot of men in suits and a lot of the record labels and what they bank on, and I think it's true, is that they know that artists, all they want to do is just make music. They don't want to do any of the business stuff. And they're banking on the fact that you're going to be lazy enough to not do that, to go to them and sell your soul in the contract where they're going to get 90% of your shit because they're going to give you $100,000 for an advancement to make an album. But they get all the rights to it. They get everything. And I think that if you can be an artist who goes, maybe I won't be that lazy kind of stereotype of like, I just want to play music, man. That's all I care about. That's why I'll let you guys just give me the advancement to make my album. If you're someone who are like, no, we're going to fund our own album and we're going to learn the things that you know, which is actually not that hard to learn.
Marketing and money.
And all that. Like you learn about it when you're signing a contract with a record label and they talk about, oh, well, we do this and that. And you're like, a lot of these things I can learn, I can do on my own. Like, it's not that you don't have to have a license, or like there's a lot of those things that a record label does that you actually can do. It's just a pain in the ass to do, but once you do it, you realize that. And I really what I hypothesize is that a record label, the only things that they have over an artist is capital and resources in regards to the people that they can contact to do A&R. But after that, every other thing that a record label does, you can do because there is an even playing field now. That's the one benefit of social media. It's an even playing field in that way. And there's techniques around it that I'm sure the record labels know.
Bro, they use all kinds of tricky little things.
But other than that, though, you start to realize like there actually isn't. Those two things are huge things, I understand. But if you can be an artist who really just decides to hunker down and learn those things, and maybe, like you said, do what Led Zeppelin did, save up enough money, make your own album so you don't have to buy an advancement for a record label, and own the masters. And you know what? You can really be in a place where you might not need a record label. And maybe that's what scares our fucking record labels right now.
Well, that's when you sign, when you don't need it.
Or well, you don't need it. Or even at the point, maybe that's the new thing that changes in the industry. Because I feel like there's always like an evolution of like, there's a moment where the record labels are in power. And then something happens.
Yeah.
And then someone changes it. And then down the line, something happens again where the record labels are in power. And then something happens again and it changes. And I feel like there's always that ebb and flow of it. And maybe we're at a precipice right now where something's about to change, where an artist does something, we're like, ooh, that's how you do it now. Now we don't need a record label. They lost all the power. Say something happens with Spotify or whatever that people go off it, or this happens, or say vinyl records become the new thing that people buy. That might change the whole game in a lot of ways. They're like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Well, it's just diversifying.
Yeah,
I think each part's always going to have its role.
Right.
You're always going to.
Right.
But capitalizing on whatever you can when you can to be able to keep doing this, because like as you said, like we've talked about like money, but like really the goal is just to continue to do it,
right? Yeah.
Without like going in debt or like spending all your money, and being able to have like a normal life. Well, whatever you consider normal, to continue just to make music, and that's really the goal. So whatever you got to do to get there, it's like that's where we're at. It's just like, all right, well, we'll figure this shit out. But at the very base level, it's like we're just gonna keep making sick ass music and getting better, and
that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and that's why fun. I mean, but tell me about your guys' new album. I mean, I want to hear. I know this is you guys are having me on the podcast, but I don't want to keep talking about myself. So
Neal, you go ahead.
The one that's coming out.
Yeah, talk about it. How do you guys feel? Because this isn't your first album you guys are doing together.
That's our first album.
It is.
It's our first full album. Yeah,
first full album. Yeah. How do you guys feel about it? Like, I
think we both feel great about it.
Fuck yeah.
We started working on it, I want to say like a year ago. I mean, some of the songs, even like a year and a half ago, we started.
Nice. So but it became an album, like I'd say, like a year ago.
They've been cooking. And I think what's so cool about this album is kind of like what you said about how an album is like a time capsule, a point in time. It definitely is that for us. Definitely is that for us. You can see our growth even within the album, I think. Like, not that one song is better than the other, but you can kind of hear us like getting into our flow as the album progresses. And I think as we put out more stuff as well, it's going to be really cool to see it as like a starting point.
Yeah. It's really a moment in time that's really beautiful. The writing is really awesome on it. Like I connect with the writing a ton on it. All of Neal's songs are really well written. All of the songs I wrote lyrics to, I personally think are very well written.
And that's all that matters.
They align really well. Like they're different. And Frost said this, our guitar player, and he basically said like, yeah, you guys like make all these different songs, but it all sounds like Celestial. Mm-hmm. I think that was the process. That was like the outcome of this first project. And I think we'll have like people will like this album for sure. Like I hope the world loves this album, and I hope people listen to the fuck out of this album because it's a fun one and it's unique. But you can tell it's a band's like kind of coming out party. It's like, hey, we're serious about this. This is what we're doing. This is the real brand. Everything's aligned with kind of like the whole idea of Celestial. It does tell a good story, and there's just so much opportunity to grow from it, because I think especially if you enjoy it, like I imagine me as a listener hearing this and being like, whoa, like this is gonna be really cool. Like as these guys continue to grow, like seeing them live, they could do so much with this. Like there's really endless potential, and so I think it leaves on a bit of a cliffhanger, which is why we're just gonna keep pumping out music after the album. Like I think like a month later we'll do a single. So it's just like it's a beautiful thing. I literally get emotional because the album starts with this song called "We Are Not Alone," but it's not a song. It's already out, but it's like it is a song, but it's like a intro. It's very cinematic. Was kind of the goal, like as we were writing it, we were thinking of like someone like waking up on like a beach, not knowing where they're at,
Fuck
hearing
yeah.
like these giant footsteps and kind of weird sounds, and it's like almost like another planet. And then it blossomed. You hear this voice, and it says like, "We are celestial beings. You are not alone. There is hope." And then it explodes into this big sound, which is kind of like all the elements and synthesizers we use throughout the album.
Yeah.
And then it goes into Other Worlds, which is very like, again, in theme.
No,
like
son.
I wake up in Other Worlds kind of thing.
so
Other
good.
Worlds are where I want to be. And then it goes into For You, which is like a love song, but it's about distance. And it's a bit more organic rock and roll. Like there's still a lot of synthesizers, and it has this cool like jump in energy during it. And then it goes into In the Stars. And
Nice.
In the Stars is the first song we ever recorded, and we recorded it live.
Oh, that's cool.
So
that's
you go
awesome.
from like very like clean produced, like almost like dipping down into In the Stars, and then from there it ramps back up into like well produced, because like it was the first song we recorded.
Fuck yeah.
And we thought about redoing it in certain ways, but I feel like it was nice to capture that. And like we have a video of us playing it live, and it sounds very similar to the recording. And so
Yeah.
you can like tell like, oh wow, like this is that journey. And then it continues on. And there's like a Keep in Touch. It's already out, but it's like probably the best written song, I think, like lyrically. That Don't Change the Channel are like just,
Thank you.
and Neal songs are like his lyrics are so
Fuck yeah, dude.
they're so like you can just it's beautiful.
Stop it.
Well, fuck it, dude. If I can't say it, no one can. But
Yeah.
like, and then it ends on this song Wonder, which is just like a very uplifting, raw but celestial song. And then the next songs we're putting out are like, I mean, ridiculous when it comes to the level of production we put into
Yeah,
them. So it's a
for
very
real.
cool like stepping stone that I'm excited for people to hear, and I think they'll respect it a lot. And it's a fun journey. I encourage people to listen to it front to back for sure.
I fucking love that. That's so exciting. It's what's cool is the excitement that you have about it, that you're so jacked up about how great the album is for you guys, is all the validation that you need. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, you're like, and that's I was thinking about that with just with the music that's gonna be coming out, and you think about like, oh my god, I'm about to make an album. Like this is
Big
this
deal.
is, this is a big deal. It's a serious thing, and you're releasing your music out to the world and all those things. And I realize that, and it's the same thing that David Bowie talked about, not playing to the audience. It's the same kind of concept, which is if you love it, then that's all that matters.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's true. Because and that's why I had a buddy of mine who I'm directing for his play that is coming out. He was giving me a call the other day, asking me a bunch of questions like, what do you think of the poster? Do you think it should go like this? Do you think the color should be this? I'm like, what do you think?
Yeah.
This is your vision, man. I'm just the director.
I have to do that all the time, though.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard.
Well, and it's understandably so. But the point I was making to him, which is like, hey, man, look, we're not in acting class anymore. There's no, critique from the teacher after you do a scene to see what they think is right. And it's like, what happens when you're not in class anymore is you're the one who makes the decision. And
Yeah.
you stick with that decision, just like a chef who makes their food. Even if someone says the food is shit, you stand by your food. You made that food. It's your song. If you like it, you have to make a decision because it goes this way, and you decided on that because you think it sounds great. A lot of people will say otherwise sometimes. A lot of people will agree with you. It doesn't matter, because if you have the excitement like you guys just had talking about the album, then you already know the album's a success. That's
Yeah.
it. And I was talking with my bassist about this today too, which is at a certain point you have to make a decision. Once you make that decision, you have to leave doubt behind, because if you don't, then you're only going to pursue things in half measures, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
So once you make your decision, no more doubt. You just have to do it fully through. Even if it's wrong or right, it doesn't matter, because if it's wrong, then you will learn from it and you'll get even better from it. And if it's right, then hey, you made the right choice, and that's great too. But the point is, you just have to make a decision and move forward with it. And you made a decision to make the album. You said you wanted the songs to go like this. You said the song, we did a live take of it. We weren't sure, but you know what? Then we made the decision. That's it. There's
Yeah.
nothing more to worry about, because you did it. And that's I feel like that's how you get through with being indecisive, like what's going to be the right choice as an artist. If you like it, and if it makes you feel good, then don't worry about any other take. Then there's a reason why you had a reaction to it. And I always trusted that gut instinct, or that art instinct of like, if I had a reaction, if I got goosebumps from playing the song the way that we did it, I don't want to change the song.
Fuck yeah, dude.
You know what I mean?
Fuck
yeah.
yeah. Stay true to yourself. And on that note, brother, what would you like to promote on this very prestigious platform?
Oh
Here for
man,
you.
I follow me at the Juliennes on Instagram and TikTok. Even though I have not posted anything on TikTok and have 0 followers.
That's all good, baby. Starts now.
Yeah. Also, I
I'll be
mean,
the
join. If most importantly, just join the mailing list on the website. And
How can they find that?
on my Instagram, there'll be a link. But if you go to www.thejuliennes.com, JULIENNES.
Perfect. I was going to ask.
Yeah. You'll have all the information will be on there. You'll be able to sign up for the mailing list. And again, we'll have some stuff coming out from the album probably in about a month or so. We'll probably release something to some degree. I still have to figure out how.
Say a month and a half. Don't put yourself in that corner.
A month and a half. We'll release something, and then probably the tentative date for the album release is I think November 1st. Still not sure on that, but if you follow me, you'll get to know about all the information. And we'll have a bunch of, like I said, fun content and music videos and stuff that will be coming out in the process of all that. So, yeah, I'm super stoked about it. Prisoners, that's the name of the album.
Oh, fuck yeah.
like
It's got a name. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Neal, anything you want to add?
No, not really.
And you guys want to give a shout out about your album?
Of
Where
course,
to get
yeah.
that pre-saved?
May 2nd, Hope, Celestial's first album coming out. Keep listening to what's out already. We have a new Live from the Rooftop episode or whatever performance. Don't change the channel, and that'll be coming out tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, April 23rd. So check that out. It'll be on our Instagram, stuff like that. Follow us at celestial_band on Instagram if you don't already, and then I think it's the same on TikTok. But yeah, thanks for listening. Congrats, man.
I can't wait to listen to your album.
Oh,
Literally,
yeah.
I finished recording my album May 1st, so May 2nd, as part of celebration, I'm listening to your album.
All right.
I listened to your guys' album. So
We'll have 10 streams. Let's go.
hey man, I'll fucking
Total one per song.
I'll repeat that shit fucking for 20 hours if I have to.
No, you're
You
so
guys
sweet,
are-
Alec. We really appreciate your support.
No,
Thank
and again,
you.
I appreciate you guys having me on here. You guys are fucking hell of an artist and a band, and I'm excited to see what comes of the album because I know good things will come your way.
Good
I really
shit.
believe that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
peace out, everybody. Love you. Bye.
Thank you.